Welcome to my workshop. In today's video I've got for you a very simple but very useful trick when you want to cut some really harsh angles on your mitre saw and your mitre saw doesn't go that far. Most of the mitre saws will allow you to cut up to 45 degrees, sometimes up to 50 like it is in my case. So what happens if you want to cut a, let's say 60, 65 or maybe even 70 degree cut? Well, there is a very simple trick to do that. Right then, first of all, I do recommend to grab a piece of chunky material, 2x4, 3x4, anything like that, as it's just a little bit easier and safer to do this on your mitre saw. However, you know, if you do have just MDF or plywood, you can use that as well. It will work. It's just a bit safer using something, well, larger. The next step is to secure this piece to our mitre saw. It needs to be secured to the unmoving part of your mitre saw, as we are going to be changing the angles, and this needs to remain in the same position. Okay, you can do it in a couple of ways. If you do have a clamp solution like I do, use that. Otherwise you can use double-sided tape or a painter's tape and CA glue. In my case, I'm just going to be using the clamp. And now we need to change the angle on our mitre saw to 45 degrees. Lock it in place and make the cut. And now that's our new fence and guide for our cut. Without moving the piece, it needs to stay where it is. I'm just going to shift back the saw to 0 degrees, i.e. 90. So how does this work? Well, basically on the scale you do see 0 degrees. But actually it's a 90 degree angle. That's what you're going to be cutting. So with our new fence that's cut at 45 degrees, okay, and cutting at 0 degrees on the saw, we're actually going to get another 45 degree angle cut. Let me show you. So grab a piece of material you want to cut at 45 degree angle, okay, just like so. Make sure your hand is away from the blade. You can use some sort of a clamping method, or actually you can actually use again a double-sided tape or the painter's tape, a CA glue, to just initially lock this in place so it doesn't move on you and your hand is away from the blade. However, this is a fairly long piece and my hand is away from the blade. So let's make the cut. So that's our piece that we just cut, and I'm physically going to show you the angle on it, okay? There you go. Perfect, 45 degrees. Okay, but you know, we can cut 45 degrees with the mitre saw. But how about, let's say 65 for easy calculations? So how do you set up the mitre saw to get a 65 degree cut? Very simply. So 65 minus 45 from our fence, and that equates to, yes, 20 degrees. Therefore we're moving our mitre saw to 20 degrees and lock it in place. And there you go. In such a simple way we managed to get a 65 degree cut. But that is not the angle on this piece, okay? On this piece, this angle should be 25 degrees, okay? 65 plus 25 equals 90, okay? It's a 65 degree cut to get an angle like this, okay? Let's just measure it up to make sure it is 25. Right, so let's check our angle here. As I said, it should be 25 degrees. There you go. Perfect. How about a very steep angle? Let's say 75 degrees. Well, again, 45 minus 75, that's 30. So we need to move our mitre to 30 degrees. However, on this occasion, as you can see, the angle is really steep and I think my fingers would be way too close to the blade itself. So very simply, piece of painter's tape, and a bit of CA. Make sure the block is nicely against our new fence. Hold it down for a few seconds and this should be good to go. And like that, in this simple way, you can create those really super sharp angles on your miter saw. However, remember, the physical angle here is what? 15, yes, 15 plus 75 equals 90. So let's again check that out. And there you go. Perfect. 15. What if you need 57-degree cut? Again, same method applies. 57 minus 45, and that equals 12 degrees. We need to move our mitre to 12 degrees. And the actual degree here, of course, it will be 33 degrees, okay, for our 57-degree cut. Now, depending on the material you're using and which actually side you want, left or right, you're gonna move that fence from left to right, depending on your needs. And there you go. I hope this quick, easy, simple tip will come in handy in your future projects. If you did enjoy today's video, well, drop me that like button down below and maybe share it with your friend that could actually need this tip. And next week, I'm going to show you how to cut skirting boards to those odd shape, walls, angles, and everything like that. So if you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss that future video. And at this point, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to my Patreons for the ongoing support. And before you go, check out these two cool playlists. Plenty of fantastic videos already there. Maybe you'll find the next one to watch. For today, that's all. Thank you very much. Take care.